What if one man held the keys to the future, but the world chose to ignore him? A man who dreamed of wireless energy, death rays, and machines that could shake the earth itself. A man who described smartphones, renewable energy, and the internet, before the 20th century even began. This is the story of Nikola Tesla, the forgotten genius who saw the future long before anyone else. Introduction: Nikola Tesla was born in 1856, in a small village in what is now Croatia. He grew up surrounded by myths, lightning storms, and stories of hidden forces that shaped the world. From an early age, Tesla claimed he could visualize inventions in his mind. Not sketches on paper, but fully formed machines, running like moving blueprints in his imagination. It was both a gift and a curse. A gift that allowed him to leap decades ahead of his peers. And a curse, because the world wasn't ready to believe him. Rising story: the Inventions. When Tesla arrived in New York in 1884, he carried little more than a letter of recommendation. And a head full of impossible ideas. His first job was with Thomas Edison, the most famous inventor in America. But while Edison worked with practical, hands-on trial and error, Tesla's mind leapt into vast, abstract visions. The two clashed almost immediately. Edison promoted direct current, DC electricity. Tesla argued for alternating current, AC, a system capable of powering entire cities more efficiently. Edison dismissed it. So Tesla walked away. Soon, he partnered with George Westinghouse, and together they unleashed what history remembers as the War of the Currents. The battle wasn't just about wires and circuits. It was about the very future of electricity. And in 1893, when Tesla lit up the World's Fair in Chicago with a dazzling display of AC power, the world finally saw who was right. AC became the global standard. And Tesla, for a moment, stood on top of the world. Hidden chapters, the unseen inventions. But Tesla's mind was never satisfied with victory. While others would have built empires, he kept reaching further. His next dream? A world powered without wires. On Long Island, Tesla constructed the Wardenclyffe Tower, a massive steel structure designed to transmit electricity through the very earth itself. Imagine charging your home, your devices, even entire cities, by pulling energy straight from the air. Tesla believed it was possible. But to investors, including the powerful J.P. Morgan, there was a problem. How do you sell electricity if it's free? Funding dried up. The tower was abandoned, and in 1917, demolished. But today, over a century later, modern companies continue experimenting with wireless energy. Tesla's dream might not have been so impossible after all. The lost inventions, and then, there were the inventions that remain shrouded in mystery. Tesla spoke of a teleforce weapon, what newspapers would call the death ray. He claimed it could send a concentrated beam across vast distances, powerful enough to destroy aircraft or entire armies. Governments were intrigued, and terrified. Some believe his plans were hidden away after his death, buried in classified archives. Another device, even stranger, became known as Tesla's earthquake machine. Tesla argued that every object in the universe had a resonant frequency. If you matched it, if you vibrated at just the right pitch, you could unleash tremendous energy. In his New York lab, he tested a small oscillator on a steel beam. Within minutes, the entire building began to shake violently. The ground trembled. Neighbors ran into the streets, convinced an earthquake had struck Manhattan. Police stormed the lab. Tesla quietly slipped the device into his pocket. Had I kept it running, he later said, I could have brought the building down. Was it an exaggeration? Or had Tesla really tapped into one of nature's hidden powers? And then, there were his experiments with high-frequency currents. He believed they could rejuvenate the human body, cure disease, even extend life. In the 1890s, Tesla demonstrated glowing violet ray lamps and strange electrical devices that, he claimed, stimulated healing. At the time, people dismissed it as eccentric showmanship. Today, however, modern medicine uses electrical stimulation for bone healing, depression treatment, and neurological therapies. Once again, Tesla was simply too far ahead. The fall, but genius alone doesn't pay the bills. Tesla had won the battle of currents. He had electrified the world. Yet he never learned to master business, patents, or investors. He was called a dreamer. A mad scientist. His rivals, especially Edison, portrayed him as unstable. By the 1920s, Tesla was broke. He lived in hotels he could barely afford, writing grand theories about interplanetary communication, cosmic rays, and machines to end all wars. The world laughed. Investors turned their backs. And Tesla faded into obscurity. In January 1943, Nikola Tesla died alone in room 3327 of the New Yorker hotel. He was 86 years old, surrounded not by people, but by stacks of notebooks, sketches, and feeding the pigeons he called his closest friends. Hours after his death, U.S. government agents swept into his room. They seized dozens of trunks filled with documents. Officially, they declared that nothing of national security importance was found. But many of Tesla's papers remain missing to this day. Closing reflection: Nikola Tesla's life reads like a chapter torn from science fiction, except every page was real. Wireless energy, remote control, radio, robotics. A vision of a global network of information that sounds uncannily like today's internet. Tesla imagined them all, long before the world was ready. So, was he a genius ahead of his time? Or a man who glimpsed too far into the unknown? Perhaps the real tragedy is not that Tesla failed, but that the world failed him. Because if humanity had listened, if we had embraced his boldest visions, our world might look very different today. And maybe, just maybe, the greatest invention Nikola Tesla ever left us is not a machine, but a question: what future are we still too afraid to build?